Greetings, I'm Eric Hammond. What you see behind me is a forest. I have cut a ditch called a swale on contour throughout this landscape. The ditch is 300 feet long. There's a pipe connected to it that will run water into a pond. But I can cap that pipe and I can flood this swale and I can irrigate an entire forest. A swale is a ditch that's cut completely level on contour around the landscape. So everything that is uphill on the north side of my property will run water off, get caught inside of this swale, and soak into the mound. This is a tree growing system. I have planted a native food forest. We're in southwest Missouri. This food forest consists of pecan trees. I have hazelnuts. I have persimmons. I have wild plums. There has been pawpaws, both seeds from plants that I have found and foraged last year, but also some pawpaws that are grafted varieties. There are currants. We have various types of fruit trees through here. I'm sure I'm missing some because I have over 200 plants planted in this swale so far. Most of them are not fruit trees. Actually, most of the trees are support species to help the fruit trees into existence. When we brought in the bulldozer to cut this swale, we had to come back through, kind of touch it up with a tractor and a box blade to make it perfectly level, and then we planted it in a cover crop. You're gonna see that there's trees behind me already that we didn't touch. So there's mulberries behind me, bunch of mulberries that produce good fruit. There's some black walnuts back there that I'm gonna show you. We didn't want to harm those trees in any way, so we actually planned around those. In some instances with the bulldozer, we were cutting, and in some instances we were pushing dirt back up to get this swale level. We planted a cover crop. We put 3 types of clover in. It's a white clover. It's inoculated with rhizobium bacteria, so the bacteria will pull nitrogen from the air and it will fix that nitrogen into the soil to help the trees grow better. We've also planted peas that were inoculated. The peas won't last long. The peas will come up. They may thrive for about a month, and then the hot weather will take on and it'll kill those peas. They will die, they'll drop their mulch back down and help the fruit trees grow. We've planted a lot of support species, so we put nitrogen fixing trees in place from the leguminous family. I have bunches of false indigo planted. I have redbud trees planted. I plan to put in mimosa and 2 kinds of locust, black locust and honey locust. The honey locusts I found on the property are actually thornless, so we're going to propagate those and put them into the swale. And I already have 1 honey locust already in place. I can show that to you. It's actually right over here. Anybody can do this. I encourage you to study permaculture. Permaculture is the answer to most of the world's problems. By mimicking the natural systems, we can support all the needs of humanity. All that is behind me just looks like a bunch of tiny sticks, but I could walk away from this tomorrow and this is going to be a forest for 100 years to come, and there's going to be a lot of valuable products from it, timber and food wise. But with a little bit of help and a little bit of planning, I can come through and I can cut these trees at certain times and speed up the progression of this forest and make it a very productive ecosystem. As a good teacher once said, all the world's problems can be solved in a garden. His name's Jeff Lawton. I took my permaculture design class from him. You should look him up. The stuff he is doing on the planet is amazing. I'm going to go ahead and take you through a little bit of a walk through my food forest. There's not a lot here yet, but as we go through week to week and I update this, you're going to see stuff is starting to happen quickly. Over here is the tail end of the swale. So I've actually turned it uphill just a little bit towards the end so water won't run off the end. There's a black walnut in place right here. You see the swale is planted with all kinds of trees. I have another black walnut right here. There's a bunch of beehives out in the distance. My father's really into beekeeping, so we got tons of pollinators here. This right here is what I want to show you. This is the best tasting mulberry tree on the entire property. It produces huge, thick mulberries. Very sweet, very good. I've taken and I coppiced it. I just cut the top off. I guess this is called pollarding. When you coppice, you cut it off at ground level. I did that to help get sun on the swale mound, to help the trees start growing. We are in a rainfall type of year at this time, so I can cut this, the tree will regrow, and then it will shade the mound when it gets hot. Plus, it's going to make fruit production or picking the mulberries a lot easier when it's closer to the ground. Again, over here is a whole bunch of mulberries that I have saved. You're seeing that they're starting to shade this mound. I'm going to come through and I'm going to cut those on the tops just like I did on this one, so I can get more light onto the mound. I've planted my pawpaws all along this backside here. They're a really shade tolerant plant. They want shade in the first few years of establishment. So we are going to cut these trees, let them get a little bit of sunlight, but then when it gets really hot, we're going to let them grow back and then shade those trees. To the left side, this is my catchment on the north side. You see my big junk pile over there. That's all the stuff I store for the farm, basically. I also have my chicken and duck pens over there. So all of the nutrient that comes out of these chicken and duck pens can flow down the hill and soak into the hillside, into my swale as well. At the very end down there by my truck, there's a pipe that goes under the driveway, and that leads to a pond. But that's it for right now. If you want to check out my cover crop, see how it's doing, we can just pull back some of this scatter mulch in here. Have a look down inside of here. And you can see all my little seedlings are starting to come through. All my clover's starting to come through. There's a pea right there starting to shoot off into the ground. Cover that back up. Anyone can do this. We just have to start.